Later in the period, another man showed up in town, Benjamin Franklin Mebane. And he was a textile person. His family was from Mebane, North Carolina. He had money. And by the time he got here, the Morehead interest had run into some money problems. I don't know how the war, what created it, but they were having a bankruptcy auction. And he came, and they were auctioning off all the belongings of the Morehead family. And over in the corner, according to the story I've heard, it's a local lore, I'm assuming it's at least some truth to it, Lily Morehead, the daughter of James Turner Morehead, was over crying. And he saw her and realized what was happening. They were selling off her stuff. So he goes over, gets his brother who came with him, and said, buy everything. And he goes over and tells Lily Morehead, ma'am, don't cry. We're going to buy it all and give it back to you. And he did. And a year later, they were married. A businessman par excellence. He leveraged everything he had, his name, money, and everything. He's married into the Morehead family. Previous governor of North Carolina, large mill owner. And he leveraged that into more money and started a program in 1890 of building a mill a year.
This is Mebane.
Mebane in Spray. Now this is stuff, if you cross the canal and Spray above the circle, it would be to your right. All of that to the right was Mebane's. He built every bit of it, all the way up the river to the North Spray Bridge. He built all those mills. And the ones to the left were part of the Morehead factories, not the Mebane fans. He was starting, he never made any real money at any of them. And he had leveraged everything he had. And so he was running on borrowed time financially. I guess you start doing that, you hope for a really big year. I'll make a killing this year, I'll be great. We'll get all these people paid up and it'll be fine.
Didn't they do something with the canals to make?
He redug the canal, because the canal was originally built for a grist mill, which stood behind the old Imperial Bank, right beside the Morehead mills, on the left as you go up from the circle.
What's a grist mill?
Barnett mill. It's a big 2 or 3 story mill running off a water wheel run by the canal. But Mebane had the canal redug so he could get more horsepower out of it. And at the time, this is early beginnings of steam in factories and stuff, but they originally powered at least the Nantucket mill and some of the others, I'm told, I think, by rope pulleys being turned by or run by water power. The water power would turn a wheel, the wheel would have a pulley on it, it would have them connected to more pulleys, and these belts, I'm told, went under the canal. And so if you went in the Nantucket mill in that first floor, there was one long shaft across the whole floor. And there were little belts coming off that to run all the equipment. And in fact, the Nantucket tower was to move the power from the belts up to the second floor. That's why it even has the tower there. Anyway, Mebane was making a lot of stuff. He went up and brought all these people out of the mountains of Virginia, Floyd Hill. People came from Floyd, North Virginia. People off the farms, he offered them a job, a regular paycheck. And they took it. It was easier, seemed to me an easier life. I'm not sure it ever was an easier life, but it was a more sure thing at the end of the summer. You didn't have to worry about whether it rained or not, whether your crop would fail. So Mebane was overextended.
Were people coming to Leesville? You said there was some.
Yeah, they sent people out deliberately to recruit people to bring them back. And they started building the mill villages. The mill villages were built in walking distance of the mill. But Mebane was up here trying to make money, running all these mills, having all these workers, doing a lot of staying busy, trying to leverage and appease his creditors constantly. And he eventually sort of got caught at it. His biggest customer, Marshall Field, realized eventually that what he was doing, and he didn't have any real money. What Mebane was doing was to putting empty boxes in the American warehouse ready to ship, labeled as shipped to Marshall Field in Chicago, but they would be empty. But as soon as that box went in the warehouse, they billed Marshall Field for it so he could get the money. Marshall Field came in here, caught it, and forced him into bankruptcy. And they took over all the mills except Spray Cotton. And the Moorhead property was not part of that deal. But they ended up with everything else. I'm not sure how Spray Cotton ended up not being part of the Mebane group of mills, but they had other owners who apparently had more weight and power than Mebane. When it all collapsed, they took their share and kept their own big mill going. Now they're up in flames here recently. But when Marshall Field came in, it's like this tone changed. There's a lot of people reading some stuff where the mill workers were concerned about, are they going to shut everything down? Are they going to fire us all? What are they going to do? And there was this huge concern through the whole area. What's going to happen now?